the Turkish health minister has compared Istanbul to Wuhan, the central Chinese city where the novel coronavirus first emerged, as the epicenter of infections. He said the spread of COVID-19 in Istanbul was brought under control through contact tracing executed by a team of experts. They followed trails like medical detectives and argued it would have been difficult to contain the virus otherwise. Britain said Iran's launch of a military satellite this week was of significant concern and inconsistent with the United Nations resolution. The UN has called upon Iran not to undertake any activity related to ballistic missiles designed to be capable of delivering nuclear weapons. Earlier, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo called for Iran to be held accountable for the launch and said he believed it defied the Security Council resolution. Authorities closed all entrances to a Palestinian refugee camp in eastern Lebanon after 4 people tested positive for the coronavirus, bringing the total cases in the settlement to 5 and heightening concerns that the disease could further spread among its overcrowded population. The 4 infected with the virus are relatives of a woman who tested positive earlier this week and are isolating inside their home, according to a statement from the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees. It said they were so far not in need of hospitalization. Arab coalition spokesperson Colonel Turki Al-Malki said the coalition to support legitimacy in Yemen announced that it was extending a unilateral ceasefire in the country by 1 month. The 2-week ceasefire in Yemen announced by the coalition expired on Thursday. It had gone into effect on April 9th to support the UN-led peace process and Secretary-General Antonio Guterres' call for a ceasefire. Al-Malki reiterated his call for exerting all efforts to reach a permanent ceasefire in Yemen and agree on serious and tangible steps to alleviate the suffering of the Yemeni people. A new set of initiatives was launched to support the main economic sectors in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the wake of the outbreak of the novel coronavirus. The Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, or SAMA, announced a set of measures and guidelines for banks to limit the negative impact of the crisis. Earlier this month, a royal decree was issued unlocking an additional $2.4 billion to cover part of private sector salaries in heavily impacted sectors. Tourism ministers of the group of 20 major economies agreed to explore capacity programs in the tourism industry to help the global economy recover from the coronavirus pandemic. The G20 Tourism Working Group was also tasked with finding ways to stimulate a recovery in the sector, the statement said following the virtual meeting. The World and Travel Tourism Council has estimated that up to 75 million jobs are at risk in this labor-intensive sector. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan decried crimes against civilization and demanded an apology from Turkey as his country marked the 105th anniversary of the World War I-era Armenian genocide. Commemorative events were scaled back this year due to the coronavirus restrictions imposed throughout the country, and the Yerevan Memorial was closed to the public. In a short video addressed to the memorial, Pashinyan said that after more than a century, the consequences of the genocide have not been eliminated. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani called on Iran's armed forces to seek regional stability while maintaining vigilance and a strong presence as a war of words escalated with the United States. The head of Iran's elite Revolutionary Guards has said that Tehran would destroy US warships if its security is threatened in the Gulf, a day after US President Donald Trump warned Tehran over harassment of US vessels. A 2015 UN resolution called upon Iran to refrain for up to 8 years from work on ballistic missiles designed to deliver nuclear weapons, following an agreement with 6 world powers to limit its nuclear program. State-owned Saudi Arabian Military Industries announced the appointment of Walid Abu Khalid as acting Chief Executive Officer, taking over from Andreas Schwer. The company, established in May of 2017, seeks to localize 50% of military spending by 2030 as part of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's plan to diversify the kingdom's economy away from oil revenue. Shua was the boss of combat systems as Germany's Rheinmetall AG before he joined Saudi Arabian Military Industries as chief executive in 2018. The US mission in Geneva said that although the United States did not participate in a meeting of world leaders on the coronavirus outbreak, there was no doubt about continuing determination to lead on global health matters. World leaders pledged to accelerate work on tests, drugs and vaccines against COVID-19 and to share them around the globe, but the United States did not take part in the video conference launch of the World Health Organization initiative. The United States has halted funding to the WHO, which President Donald Trump has lambasted as slow and China-centric. The United States had been the largest donor. The White House pushed back at a torrent of criticism of President Donald Trump, saying his apparent suggestion that disinfectant could be injected to treat patients with COVID-19 was taken out of context. During a televised briefing on the coronavirus pandemic, Trump mused that researchers might investigate ways of injecting disinfectant to cure the disease, comments that sparked outrage among experts. President Trump has repeatedly said that Americans should consult with medical doctors regarding coronavirus treatment, a point that he emphasized again during his speech briefing. As more countries look to relax lockdown restrictions, experts are concerned a second wave of coronavirus will emerge. The director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said a resurgence of COVID-19 next winter could hit the US healthcare system even harder than the original outbreak. Researchers have compared the coronavirus crisis to the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, which is estimated to have claimed 50 million lives. Global oil supplies may be 6% less than expected by 2030 because of delays to investments by energy companies in response to falling crude prices due to the coronavirus crisis. Oil and gas companies across the world have slashed investment budgets, exiting projects or delaying bringing them on stream to counter a fall in crude prices to record lows due to a supply glut as the coronavirus outbreak destroyed demand. It estimates that $195 billion worth of non-shell projects are being delayed, most of which are gas and gas condensate field developments. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres calls for human rights to guide COVID-19 recovery response. He said the coronavirus pandemic is not only a critical public health danger, also human, economic and social emergency that is fast becoming a human rights crisis. He emphasized that people and their rights must be front and center and that human rights can and must guide COVID-19 response and recovery. Kona Electric has been acknowledged as the best small family car in the inaugural Top Gear Electric Awards after it completed a 1,600 km road trip across 9 European countries. Hyundai Motors' fully electric SUV was not only commended for its efficiency and long-distance capability, but also for its smooth and effortless performance. In total, 9 countries were visited, with the trip starting in the Czech Republic and the 1,600 km drive taken in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, France, Luxembourg, Belgium and Holland. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and other Gulf countries have been forced to take strict precautionary measures to rein in the coronavirus disease outbreak during the holy month of Ramadan. Sheikh Abdul Aziz Al Sheikh, Saudi Arabia's Grand Mufti, said people would have to perform Taraweeh and Eid prayers at home to prevent spreading the virus. Anyone caught violating the ministry's instructions would be relieved from working in mosques, with no exception granted to even imams and staff. Lebanon will extend a coronavirus lockdown by 2 weeks until May 10th, but Prime Minister Hassan Diab said the economy would be reopened in gradual phases over the coming weeks. Already hit by a financial crisis that led to a sovereign debt default and a fall in the value of its currency, Lebanon has ordered most businesses to close, shut Beirut airport, and imposed an overnight curfew to curb the spread of the novel coronavirus. Meanwhile, Lebanese Prime Minister Hassan Diab rebuked Central Bank Governor Riyad Salama, questioning his performance after a steep fall in the pound currency and calling on him to clearly explain to the Lebanese people where policy was headed. British retail sales fell by the most on record in March, reflecting the hit from the coronavirus shutdown, which closed many businesses in the second half of the month. Despite a surge in shopping for food, overall sales volumes plunged by 5.1% in March from February, a bigger fall than a median forecast for a drop of 4% in a Reuters poll of economists. It was the sharpest drop since the Office for National Statistics records began in 1996. Apple said it has found no evidence a flaw in its email app for iPhones and iPads has been used against customers, and that it believes the flaw does not pose an immediate risk to the users. San Francisco-based cybersecurity firm ZecOps detailed a flaw that it said may have left more than 500 million iPhone vulnerable to hackers. Zug Avraham, ZecOps chief executive, said that he found evidence the vulnerability was exploited in at least 6 cybersecurity break-ins.